Good morning. I think we are live. We will see. I'm Dr. Ernie Ward, and welcome to this special New Year's Eve charity telethon benefiting the Uplands Peak Animal Sanctuary. It wouldn't be 2020 without some kind of glitch, so we apologize. We're getting off to a late start today, but we've got a full roster of amazing speakers and events here to sort of help us illuminate the plight and need of farmed animals everywhere. And so it's really my pleasure to be here representing the veterinary community. So I'm Dr. Ernie Ward. I'll be getting some stuff here. We're going to talk a little bit about plant-based pets, sort of the impact of what we're feeding our dogs and cats can have on the environment. I'll be talking about my latest book, The Clean Pet Revolution. And again, hopefully I'm not on mute. I think, we were talking the other day, the most common phrase of 2020 is you're on mute. So hopefully this is live and we are working out well. I really want to thank our sponsor today of this segment in particular. It is Brewing Good Coffee. So hopefully wherever you are, you're enjoying a good cup of joe. Nobody makes it better than Brewing Good Coffee Company in Savage, Maryland. Their motto is drink coffee, save animals. I'm down with that. How about you? If you are down with that, give us a drop in the comments below. One of the great things about having these sponsors for these segments is they're matching your donation. So while they donate a portion, they're going to also double or triple or whatever that amount is. So if you donate now, your up to $100 will be matched by Brewing Good Coffee Company. So we really want to thank them. Check them out. You can order online. They have amazing roastery in Maryland. And so if you're into coffee or tea, which you probably should be, and you probably are if you're like me, then definitely check them out. Couple of quick things. I guess we're going to get rolling here. Hopefully you're having a great day wherever you are. Hopefully you're being safe. This has been quite the year, 2020. I was just watching the Netflix documentary, or mockumentary, I should say, starring Sam Jackson about 2020 and what we learned in 2020. And I'll tell you, when you reflect back on the challenges and travails that humanity and animal kingdom has faced in 2020, it's really, rivals some of the greatest cataclysmic events in history. So I hope you're being safe. I hope you're being safe for those that you love. And I hope that you are enjoying the holiday season. So I'm going to switch over here to a couple quick things. I want to start off just by giving you some contact information for me. If you want to know a little bit more about me, I am a veterinarian. I've been a veterinarian for quite a long time. I graduated from University of Georgia College of Veterinary Medicine way back in the dark ages of 1992. And I haven't eaten meat since for over 30 years now. And so for me, part of that journey of being a veterinarian and committing my life to helping animals in need was I couldn't eat my friends. I couldn't eat my patients. And so I think I know that one of the key figures and leaders of the Uplands Peak Sanctuary, Karen Asp, we've worked together on many projects in the past. She's a fantastic writer and journalist, and we've really explored this recently, and there's going to be some stuff maybe that they'll be sharing with you later. We're really kind of examining veterinary professionals' attitudes towards eating animals. And, I know it's one of those friction issues, and it's controversial, but for me, as someone who has committed my life to saving and enhancing the well-being of all animals, this was something that was important to me. So you can check it out. Obviously, I'm known as the pet obesity guru around the world, founder of the Pet Obesity Prevention organization, and check that out for sure. We have a lot of resources. Again, one of the biggest plights that our pets face is obesity. It is quite literally robbing them of years of life. It is damaging their quality of life on so many levels. So pet obesity and animal welfare are really two of my big things. So check it out. I do a lot of different stuff. Definitely go over to Instagram and hit that like button. That really, we're trying to continue to reach out to people in a positive fashion, the benefits of a plant-based or veganism. And so, you can help me reach more veterinary people and pet parents that are interested, such as yourself. I do want to point out one thing that I've really been committed to working on this past year. I'm going to switch over. I want you to go to this website. But if you look at this website, you'll understand why this issue caught my attention. This is something that really started up, I guess, as a person who participates in organized veterinary medicine for most of my career, I look to our organizing and sort of bodies of government, if you will, to provide guidance and to give us, a voice in legislation and so forth. And so this issue came about when we passed recently the depopulation guidelines in 2019. The American Veterinary Medical Association gives guidance to farm animals, right? So people that are raising chickens and pigs and livestock and even fish. And so in the event of a natural disaster, a zoonotic disease outbreak, how would you quickly and safely and humanely depopulate or kill all of these animals? And so there's the guidelines. Well, in these guidelines, baked in this last time, was something called ventilation shutdown. And I don't want to really get into all the gory details with you today, but basically it just amounts to closing the doors, sealing the windows, turning on the heat. Sometimes they apply steam, and these animals suffocate and die of overheating. And so when I found out that this was actually happening due to COVID, right? So these pig farmers were using this to save money. I couldn't remain silent anymore. So we started an organization. We've got over 2,000 people that have signed it now. About half of those are veterinarians. So if you're a concerned pet parent, if you're a veterinary professional, I encourage you to go over and check out our website. I mean, we've got tons of information on here. This is really, as I'm right here, it's a brutal, painful method of animal depopulation. And so, again, what's happened is they've sort of used this as a cost savings procedure. So it's one of those things, not a great way to start off our day, but there's change afoot. We've got an official petition before the American Veterinary Medical Association House of Delegates. We hope that they will seek to hear the petition in January. So again, anything you can do to help today, the more numbers we have to present to them at the formal meeting, really the better our case is. So I do want to talk a little bit about, though, today, this whole explosion in alternative pet foods and proteins. And, this has kind of been something that, of course, I've been highly involved with. I'm one of the co-founders of a pet food company called Wild Earth. We use alternative protein, primarily yeast proteins, for a high protein dog food. So if you don't know about that, check it out, wildearth.com. I've served as the chief veterinary officer since we began. And but you're starting to hear more and more about plant-based for pets. And again, if you have questions, definitely drop them off. We'll try to take them. We'll be watching some of the comments on Facebook for sure. So if you have questions, but there's been an explosion in this type of interest of these areas. And you've all heard about Beyond Meat and Impossible Burger, and every day some big company seems to announce a new foray into the alternative protein space. And why now, though? I mean, I think that's really the question that I'm asked the most is like, okay, Ernie, these things, like, we've been eating plants since man, emerged from the swamps and started, being bipedal. Why now all this interest in Beyond Meat? And really, it's the byproduct of some technological advances. We really got much more efficient at liberating and processing the proteins very efficiently from things like peas, for example, and many other forms of grains even. So we've really made technological advances in processing. Food processing has really advanced to the point where we can actually, cost effectively take protein from a variety of plants. Fermentation technologies have really accelerated over the past decade. Now, we've been fermenting foods since man figured out that, wow, if you put certain vegetables in the ground and let them sit for a while, you can make wines or vinegars, you can make sauerkraut, you can do a variety of things with them. But fermentation technologies at scale have been really a problem for food industry. And it's only been in the past decade or so that some of these bioreactors, synthetic processes have come online that allow them to make this at a cost-effective fashion. And then finally, what we're starting to see now, everybody talks about lab-grown meats, cellular proteins. That's really, we're on the cusp of that. And you're going to see an explosion over the next 5 years. What's really holding back the development and progress right now, quite frankly, in the US is government regulations. And look, I'm all for being safe and so forth, but right now we just don't have clarity. The current guidelines actually say that half of like acellular protein production is under one group, the USDA, the other half is under the FDA, which means you're going through a lot of hoops back and forth. Countries like Singapore, which made a commitment over a decade ago to become food autonomous, so meaning that they wouldn't have to import. It's a small island. They didn't want to have to keep relying on the rest of the world for their food supply. They have already announced and approved the very first chicken-based acellular protein, or lab-grown meat, if you will, because they understand that this is the future. I expect you're going to see many, many countries in the next couple of years begin to approve these products, which will then, of course, translate over to pet food, which is very exciting. Most of us in this field in the United States believe that over the next 2 years, you're going to see the first products in the US. So again, it's very, very exciting time. But also, you guys are demanding it. If you're a pet parent out there today, you're concerned about, the environment. You see the changes of climate, on our health and well-being. I mean, this latest coronavirus pandemic is a byproduct of, several things, including factory farming, but also climate change, and just the change in the way we move around the world. And so, changes in transportation and so forth. You also been concerned about pet food recalls. I mean, since 2007, when we had the tragic melamine recall, I mean, lots of people have paid more attention to what they're actually feeding their dog or their cat, and so that means we want better things. I think most humans, certainly that are watching this, are aware of the dangers of red meat. I mean, even the World Health Organization, WHO, declares red meats as a carcinogen, cancer-causing agent, because we know that the processing of red meats can have risk as well. Again, and why I think people like Uplands Peak and why Brewing Good Coffee and others are so passionate about these things is because it's animal welfare. At the end of the day, these animals are suffering. These factory farms are not these idyllic, pastures that they post on the packaging. That's a fantasy. And if you check out my book, The Clean Pet Food Revolution, definitely you'll see that we talk a lot about that. And Laura, maybe you can grab a copy of that book so I can show it to people too. Part of the pet obesity prevention, we send out a survey every year. So if you're not already doing this, go to petobesityprevention.org, sign up to be on the surveys. But we do ask people, what do they think about these alternative proteins? And there's interest, and it's growing. So this is from our 2018, and this is really before it got hot. And you can see that a fair number of people were like, okay, we got this. What are we talking about? Plant-based proteins, insects, yeast and fungal proteins, which is where I play, and of course, cultured meats and fermented foods. Those are all the areas that we are really going to focus on just briefly on today, but I really want to just spend a couple of minutes talking about the carnivore in the room, because I think that people have been misled greatly. And one of the things that I talk about, and here's the book. You can buy it on Amazon. Definitely check it out. It is a wealth of information, tons of citations. I think there's almost 300 citations in this book. But The Clean Pet Food Revolution, co-wrote it with my dear friend, UK animal ethicist Alice Oven, and the CEO of Wild Earth contributed as well, Ryan Bethencourt. And one of the, I guess I spend about a third of the book trying to dispel this myth that your dog is a little wolf. And aside from the fact that they're not even the same species, they're not related at all, I think they've been very effective at marketing this sort of bravado to pet owners around the world. And literally people have a Chihuahua, they have a Yorkie, a Maltese, and somehow they think, oh, well, it needs raw meat, and that's just not true. And so I thought I'd share a little bit of the some of the evidence out there. There are citations. I know we're doing this on a webinar, but certainly you can look up these citations yourself. We know that dogs diverged from wolves at least 15,000 to 40,000 years ago. Now, while that seems like a big spread, remember, we're still looking at 15,000, 20,000, 30,000 years of there being a different species, which means that it's different and it continues to evolve over time, especially the intense genetic pressure that we put on dogs through selective breeding practices. That's why we have so many different breeds, for example. So we know that this has been a longstanding thing. We know that we've been hunting collaboratively. We got great archaeological evidence, whether it's cave drawings or burial sites or excavations that show what we were feeding dogs, for example, in our camps. We know that this has been going on for at least 12 to 15,000 years ago. So this matches up nicely, right? So we've got genetic evidence showing, wow, dogs and wolves separated genetically, 15, 40,000 years ago. Then we've got archaeological evidence that says, hey, humans have been like collaborating, hunting together, living together for 12 to 15,000 years ago. And so we know that this is really important. It's a long time. And so the problem is the language. And what I talk about in the book, kind of, and I think this is an important point to continue to reemphasize, is that this is a term that was a biological organizational attempt to bring order to the natural world. So as man was really beginning to explore in the 18th century the rest of the world, so remember, we're primarily European focused in our history books. And so they're now going to Africa, they're going to South America, they're going down, to Asia, and they're seeing species, animals, things, plants that they had never encountered before. And so Linnaeus and other biologists said, look, we need to sort of try to organize this, right? And that's what we do. We're systematic, process-oriented, method-based people. We're scientists. I mean, that's part of the whole scientific method. And so in an attempt to bring order, they started ascribing different names. And so carnivore became this taxonomical term that was really to describe, based on skeletons, field reports of people that were coming back from these exotic lands and saying, hey, this thing killed another animal. And so it got lumped into different things. So flesh eaters became this one big category. And then plant eaters became this one big category. But remember that this is just a language attempt to try to bring structure to this. And so what happened was over time, we started seeing lots of exceptions. For example, wow, here are the great apes, the gorillas. They have really pronounced canines, and yet they eat plants only, right? What about bears? Many bears are primarily herbivorous, especially like the classic panda bear, yet they have the same skeletal taxonomical characteristics of a lion. But they're lumped into the same thing because, again, Linnaeus and other biologists said, well, we got to somehow characterize them. So we'll look at the skull. And if they have these big fangs, they probably eat flesh like the lions and the cheetahs. So therefore, we did this. And so we realized that wasn't adequate. And so over time, we started saying things like strict carnivore, true carnivore, obligate carnivore, facultative carnivore. All of these adjectives were an attempt to try to further refine the definition. But you can see now we're not really a carnivore, we're something else and kind of a carnivore. And so, how do you characterize a raccoon? How do you, a fox? I mean, all of these are really, they defy it. Remember that if you use taxonomy, if you use terminology to describe physical characteristics, it's not describing the underlying physiology and biology and metabolism. And this is where I have a real problem with terms like carnivore and herbivore and omnivore, because we're using still primarily physical characteristics and traits to describe the physiology. And so as science progresses, honestly, these terms become meaningless, they become obsolete, and so we have to replace it. And right now, we're really undergoing this other strange taxonomical shift. People have been pushing for the past few years these terms hypercarnivore, which means they eat at least 70% animal meat. Mesocarnivores, half. Hypocarnivores, less than 50%. And this really blurs the definitions, in my opinion. So you can see scientists grappling with this. They're like, oh gosh, we've got this legacy of carnivore. We know it doesn't aptly or accurately describe the situation, and therefore let's put another adjective or prefix onto it to try to make it clear, and it just muddies the water further. So you can see why people like me in the scientific and medical community, we're going, carnivore probably is limiting, and we need to now just focus on what do we know about the physiology of the animal. That's where I really dig in right here. Okay, so again, this is some of the citations there. Now, when we look at those specific genetic changes, all right, when we started mapping the dog and cat genome, we realized very quickly that if we compared that genome with wolves, for example, in this case, we could see where the differences and similarities lie. And in 2013, in really one of the key papers that was published in Nature, they found 36 key differences in the genes of dogs from wolves that really said, hey, this is meaning that this is a different species. And 10 of those were responsible for starch and fat metabolism. Now, this is really important to sort of point out from just a dog owner and dog lover perspective. See, as we brought dogs into our homes, as we began collaborating with them, hunting with them, sharing our food with them, they physiologically adapted over thousands of years to eat what they were presented with. One of the things that evolution does best, evolution basically is driven by scarcity, right? So when something is abundant, you really focus on that. This is why there are several species around the world that will only eat one specific food source. In fact, their entire physiology is dependent on that. And then, of course, when that food source is threatened or taken away, that species goes extinct. And there's the history books are littered with cases like that. Now, remember, here you are with a dog, and it starts out as one thing. And over millennia, thousands of years, you start feeding it other things. Well, the most successful, the hardiest, the strongest of those survive by adapting to using more fats and starches and less animal-based proteins. And if you add this up over thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of years, these changes become significant. And that's why there are 36 different genomic changes. 10 of them are just related to fat and starch metabolism in dogs. That means that your dog is not a wolf at all. All right, so wild wolves just weren't living in close proximity to humans. It's that simple. Well, other researchers took this, and one of the areas that I've always been very interested in, and my friends at Basepaws, which is a cat genomics company where I serve on the board there, I've really been focusing us, or trying to get us to focus more on this one gene locus, this one area on the genome of many mammals. And it's called the AMI2B. And basically, this is for amylase production. And we know that dogs have an overexpression of this compared to wolves, for example. And there's some really interesting, exciting stuff that we're looking at in cats as well, especially with my link to obesity. And so we know that when it comes to starch and amylase production, starch metabolism, amylase production, dogs have at least 30 times more expression of this and production of amylase than wolves. And again, they've got a much longer, more active version. Now, this gets a little technical, but the length of genes, the longer that gene is, the more genetic information can be encoded, right? It's just a longer code. And so as you get further and further down on this, this gene, you find that other starches are able to be metabolized. And so I think a lot of people overlook the fact that the AMI2B gene actually is comprised of many things. It doesn't stop just at amylase, but it also encodes for maltase production, another key starch enzyme. So yeah, this stuff gets deeper, and the more we learn about it, the more important we learn that they can thrive on a plant-based diet. Again, differences between dogs and wolves. Well, they can convert plant-based beta-carotene to retinol. That's something that wolves can't do. And again, this is by thousands, tens of thousands of years of coexisting and sharing food with humans. And they said, hey, the ones that were more successful at surviving were able to convert plant-based vitamin A for a usable source. Linoleic acid, again, they can use this as a arachidonic acid, which is a fatty acid that is essential for life. So they can take a plant source and do this. Wolves can't do this. And this is why I just get back to this language, carnivore, omnivore, they're being outdated. There was a classic study presented in Nature not too long ago where they actually took a Canadian snow hare, a rabbit, which most of us would think, oh, rabbits. I mean, how many of us as vegans or vegetarians or plant-based people have said, what are you eating? Rabbit food, right? Well, they found that these snow hares actually kill other mammals, including themselves. There's some cannibalism that goes on during the winter. So they actually eat other animals. Are they an herbivore? Are they an omnivore? Are they a mesocarnivore? I mean, you pick your term, because you can see clearly that there are cases, documented, scientifically proven cases of, things that we thought only ate plants that actually kill other animals. So, I mean, this is a very complex, this language really, really does confuse people. And as a scientist and as a veterinarian, these are the things I'm going, wait, how do I get clarity in language? We've got to roll it back to the physiology. there's just a few of the things that we can talk about. Just real briefly here, I don't know if we're getting any comments or not on our live stream, but maybe later you'll have questions, and I'm certainly glad to help out if possible with that, but I'm sure the Uplands Peak people will. But there's a lot of interest in plant-based dog foods. In fact, nearly every week somebody is approaching me. They're telling me, hey, here's a deal. We're starting this new company. We'd like to get your help. How have you done it at Wild Earth? What are the things that you've learned? It's kind of amazing. Even one of the major pet food companies has just announced an initiative to get into plant-based dog foods for next year. So lots and lots of choices out there, more than ever. Where are we getting the protein sources for these dog foods in particular? I'm really going to limit it right now to dog foods because cats are a little more problematic. There's a couple of ingredients that we don't have great solutions for as far as an animal free. We are working on it. Again, as I talk about acellular production of proteins, that's really, and fats, that's going to be the next step for cats. But right now for dogs, green peas, pea protein, definitely at the top of the list for where we're getting some really high quality protein. Chickpeas, potatoes, soybeans, rice, barley, oats, lentils, corn, all those are great sources. And remember, I started out by saying, hey, look, guys, technological food production, that's what's really changed. We couldn't do this 10 years ago. I mean, people are like, well, why did you guys just do it now? Or you've been, vegan for 30 something years. Why didn't you do a vegan dog food back then? Well, the simple fact is really couldn't do it cost effectively. And even now there's a price premium on plant-based pet foods. And we're trying to lower that cost and at scale. And as companies become more successful and as the bigger players begin to enter the market, you'll see those prices come down, just like you did with Beyond Burger and Impossible Burger and all those things. But the reality is there's been a price premium that just continues to go down, down, down. Do they work the same? If a dog is getting all the amino acids that they need from the food, there's no physiological difference between a protein from a plant source and a protein from an animal source. This is really where people start to, I think, get very confused on these topics. They start to think of somehow as a protein from a plant being inferior from a protein from an animal source. And it's the same protein. It's the same molecule, the same chemical composition. They're identical. I mean, that's why arginine here, leucine here, carnitine here, it doesn't matter. It's the molecular structure that the body needs, because it takes those molecular structures, breaks them up, and reassembles them into things that it needs to produce bones, immune cells, right? Skin to repair damage, from a cut or wound, to fight infection. I mean, all these things, remember, it's the breakdown of these molecular elements that actually the body is using. So it just needs certain components. It breaks it apart, cleaves them through enzymatic processes, rearranges it, uses what it needs. I mean, it's a beautiful, elegant dance that's occurring physiologically. But carnitine from a chicken, from a plant, from a wherever, it doesn't make any difference. The body's just like, thank you very much. That's what I needed. Let's get to work. That's really what it does. The other thing I think is that people somehow, we view food as an entity, as a whole. So we think of an egg. We think, oh, the dog eats the egg goes in, and the egg is broken up and does stuff. Well, it's really different. Like the egg is almost immediately broken down, beginning in the mouth, even with mastication, with chewing. You're breaking down these foods into their primary constituents. That's what the body is trying to do. It does not care if it is wrapped in an egg. It does not care if it's wrapped in a steak. It does not care if it's wrapped in a pea or a piece of corn. It is just saying, give me what you got. Let me start breaking this down into something that I can use, that I can re-engineer to benefit my body's needs. And so, when people say, do dogs have a protein requirement? How much protein do they need? We've really got to get to a more refined discussion. It's not protein per se, it's the amino acids. And I foresee a time in my lifetime, over the next 20 years, for example, when we're actually going to refine that even further and break it down even more than just amino acids. That's just where we are right now with the science and what we can actually measure and what we can actually act upon. But over time, we're going to look down at very, people keep talking about atomic nutrition, but that's where we're headed. I mean, we're actually headed in this direction of really these most finite subsets, constituents of these protein building blocks. And that's, again, it's a building block. It's something that's used. It's an ingredient. What do they need? They need 22 amino acids for normal physiological health. 10 of those are required by dogs and cats. All right. So there's a list here with them. Arginine is essential for adult dogs and cats. But it's not, for example, essential for many other adult animals like humans. There are 12 non-essential amino acids, and that means that you can just break it up, make it from other stuff, and so that's one of the classics that we always talk about. Okay, so are they healthy? Thank you, Time Magazine, for giving me an alert on the top books. Are they healthy? Well, these have been approved. They're actually known as generally recognized as safe ingredients, which means that most of these foods and ingredients were around since the 1940s and 50s, so they're recognized as safe because they've been eaten by humans for millennia and fed to dogs, I would argue, for tens of millennia. These are also approved by the American Association of Feed Control Officers, and so that's the AFCO governing body, and they're not really a governing body, they're just an industry-funded and industry organization. So pet food companies are members of this, and they actually write the guidelines. The FDA then uses those guidelines to put their regulations in place. So the bottom line is that yes, these are safe. They've been used for thousands of years. They are approved by everybody, and there's tons of scientific evidence. But remember that there's, just like in human veganism and plant-based, there's always been a little bit of a bias because, you're not really selling peas to people, right? You're selling a processed pea. That's how you make money. So you can advertise and do research to show that your version of peas in a can is healthier than, something else. But the reality is we all know that, these products just don't get the research that they deserve, for sure. Again, I just want to talk about a couple of things. People bring up a lot of, they say, well, peas just are inferior in so many levels. The lectins that sometimes people bring out, they're inactivated by heat. So if you're cooking the peas, if you're using it in a kibble, for example, if you're using it in a can of dog food, the heat there inactivates those lectins, and so that does not impair any absorption of other amino acids or proteins. The phytoestrogen, people say, oh, if you eat so many of these plant proteins, you'll grow breasts like a woman if you're a man, and all this type of stuff. And that's just really been discounted. That has been debunked over the past decade or so, for sure. And again, tons of research on that, for sure. And we're going to kind of start to wrap this up. And I know we got off to a late start. I apologize, but we're almost done. I just want to leave you today with a little bit around the DCM, because the dilated cardiomyopathy, there was an op-ed, which was not a peer-reviewed study, done by a couple of veterinarians about 3 years ago that really cast a lot of doubt on like certain diets. In fact, they even called them boutique diets. So if it wasn't like one of the major brands that, that you're familiar with, then it must be somehow dangerous or potentially causing harm to the heart. Well, we've been looking at this now for 3 years and just nothing, there's been no evidence brought forward. I mean, people are studying this all around the world, desperately trying to get an answer. I want to get the answer as well. But most of us sat back early on and said, wait, when we were looking at the first accounts that these people were bringing forward, we were like, there's a lot of holes in this data. There's a lot of questions. A lot of them had taurine levels all over the board. A lot of them weren't even diagnosed with DCM, but yet they were included in some of the cohorts. So it was a very confusing initial round of reports. And later you start to see the FDA continually backing it out, back talking this or walking it back. You can see, in fact, they just had another statement out, which I'll share with you in just a second. But one of the bottom line with this is it's very complicated. It's not just diet. So recently, in the summer of this year, a group of researchers published in the Journal of Animal Science a literature review. What that means is that scientists go out and they look at all the available evidence they can find. So any reports, pros, cons, neutral, doesn't matter. So they found over 150 studies over the past decade that looked at diet and DCM. And they concluded that it's largely an inherited disease. Now, when we say inherited, that means that, wait, there are dogs that may have a genetic predisposition that if their diet is wrong, if the environment is wrong, if they gain too much weight, for example, obesity, if they have inflammatory bowel disease, which is a big risk factor for DCM. If any of those other factors come into play, then they're more likely to get DCM. It's just like if you were born with the gene for lung cancer, Well, you may live your entire life without developing lung cancer, but if you begin smoking and you have that gene, that could be the trigger physiologically that then turns on this cancer causing mechanism. And so that's one way of looking at the DCM. There are a small percentage of dogs. In fact, what they're actually saying is like some of them are saying it's less than like 0.5%, and then somebody else said it's like less than 0.025%, which, again, these are very, very tiny numbers. But I encourage you to take a look at the literature, because many veterinarians are confused about this as well. I'm constantly getting emails and messages from vets saying, wait, what's the story? I mean, every time I post something like this on my social media or LinkedIn or whatever, I'm just overwhelmed with people, with vets who are confused about this topic. So I encourage you to go out there, take a look at that, and we'll do it. Well, anyway, I think we are at the end of my time here. I apologize. I know we got off to a late start, so I'm over time, but I want to thank again Uplands Peak Sanctuary for doing all they can to help with the animal welfare, to save and preserve the quality of life for these farmed animals. I want to thank the Brewing Good company, coffee company. We've got they'll match your donations up to $100, so definitely check it out. The first $100 worth of donations, they will match it. So go check out Brewing Good Coffee Company, Savage, Maryland. You can order online, which is super safe for these days. But if you like a good cup of joe, I don't think you can find better. I love their saying, once again, drink coffee, save animals. I'm Dr. Ernie Ward. It's been my pleasure to spend a little bit of your New Year's Eve. I hope you have a great one. I hope you're safe, and I hope that it's with loved ones. That's it for me. Bye.
Happy New Year's Eve, everybody. This is Christy, board president at Uplands Peak Sanctuary, tuning in live from Freedom, Indiana, where it's a little bit cool this morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are very excited to be celebrating some hope and sanctuary going into the new year 2021, which you can see on my glasses here today. I want to start by thanking Dr. Ernie Ward for getting our day going and showing us how to take care of our animals. That was a lot of good information to share with us today, Dr. Ward. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Brewing Good Coffee Company, who has agreed to match the first $100 of donations today, which we already have some donations coming in. We're so excited that this is going to be a really fantastic fundraising event to take care of our residents. As you know, Uplands Peak Sanctuary is a nonprofit organization that has sustained this incredible year of 2020 this year. And this organization runs completely on donations. So for you sharing your time with us today, we appreciate you. For you sharing what you can today to help us care for our residents, we thank you for that as well. I wanted to take a moment to show you our Thermometer Fundraising here, because this is really special, you guys. I'm going to try to flip my camera around. Oops. Hold on, you guys. You can hear me, hang with me. Look at this. So what's so amazing about this on many levels is our friend and team member, Amelia of Stinky Studio. I've got her right up here. You can find her on Instagram too. She's got incredible art of our companion animal friends, but she expanded that to represent our residents here at Peak. When I saw this artwork, I was so elated to see some of our friends like Frida celebrating the new year. She's already been up and excited to join us at the sanctuary this morning. She's kind of the greeter with the other cows up front on the property, and our friend Taffy wearing her celebration hat. As you can see, our thermometer is going to grow today, guys. Our goal is to reach $10,000 to take us strong to take care of our residents in the new year, 2021. How do you do that, you ask? I know our friends running the telethon today will be popping in to give us that information. But right here on the bottom of our thermometer, who's ready to say bye to 2020? I certainly am. So this website, buy2020.org, is where you can help share some of those donations. And I really hope you guys are able to share this experience with people that you care about your loved ones, your family members, your network of friends. I'm going to take us over just for a minute because our pigs were just celebrating with us with lots of cheers and excitement as they just got their breakfast out here. So a moment ago, they were having lots of excitement and sounds, but now they're nice and quiet and enjoying their breakfast. So you can be a part of this, guys. Helping us raise money today for our New Year's Eve telethon will help keep our friends fed in the winter and in the year ahead. So I can't thank you enough for being here with us today. Excuse me. Pardon me. I'm going to flip my camera around one more time. I so appreciate you guys. That's our barn right there. Where we have some of our pigs and goats that spend the night and are starting to wake up. So there we go. So you can tell I'm pretty excited to be here out at Peak today with some of my gear. I hope you guys are celebrating comfortably at home and staying safe. I want to, before we go on to our next segment, I want to let you know that one of my favorite dads is coming on. We have the Lean Green Dad coming up next for our segment, and he's going to share fun and quick recipes for the whole family. As a mom myself, I really enjoyed watching some of his segments because it helps keep it easy and keep it nutritional and keep it compassionate. So I look forward to checking back in with you at the sanctuary, maybe with some of our residents a little bit later today. And thank you for sharing this day with us. Take care, guys.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to the happy birthday New Year's Eve celebration for Uplands Peak Sanctuary. My name's Corey from Lean Green Dad. I am honored to be here, and holy cow, when Dr. Ernie Ward and Annie, who is helping coordinate this thing, asked me to come on board and celebrate with you guys for the new year, say goodbye to 2020, and hello to 2021. I couldn't be happier. So I'm honored to be here. Just in case you don't know, I think the link is bye2020.org. We are doing this for our animal friends. We are doing this for the planet. So this telethon, this digital telethon that we're doing with all of these awesome vegan people is for the animals and for Uplands Peak Sanctuary. So make sure you go check out BYE, bye2020.org. This is an opportunity to raise money for an amazing organization in Peak, and they've been around for 7 years now. Holy cow, home to over 50 of our animal friends, including, I wrote it down, cows, pigs, goats, turkeys, and chickens. You some quick and easy tips. Plant-based parents, okay? I run Lean Green Dad, leangreendad.com. I also run the Lean Green Meal Plan, which brings quick and easy plant-based meals to parents just like me who are crazy. I mean, just to give you an idea, my moment before coming on this live, I was giving my kids a bath. That's what I was doing. I have 3 kids. They are 12, 9, and 5, and they are absolutely incredible. 2 of them have been vegan since birth. We are an entirely vegan family. We kind of made this switch, I want to say, 8 years ago. Actually, 12 years ago. 12 years ago. My daughter, no. My daughter's 12, so she was 3 when we transitioned. And so, 9 years ago. So that's when we transitioned. And it's been amazing. I was a triathlete. I had run the Ironman circuit, and just started being really in tune with my body and what I was eating and everything. And I was like, man, this might help. But our main reason for transitioning to a vegan or plant-based diet, as many say, was for my wife's ulcerative colitis. So she has, a chronic illness, ulcerative colitis, and the doctors didn't really know very much. So we had to transition ourselves. We made the decision after watching, Forks Over Knives, Cowspiracy, a lot of different things that kind of got us to say, hey, maybe this is something we could take into our own hands and make a change. And we did. It was incredible. And so we're going to do a couple things today, okay? We are going to learn about cookies, cookie dough, vegan cookies you can make in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. We are going to make some awesome oatmeal, and I'm going to talk to you about my morning regimen that I want you to think about, okay? I'm also going to highlight just a handful of vegan products, so I hope that you are as excited as I am. If you are, give me that like button. Let me know you're ready. Leave some comments to tell us how much you love animals, and out of the ones that I just said, cows, pigs, goats, turkeys, and chickens, let me know in the comments right now, even if you're watching this on replay, let me know right now which one's your favorite, which one do you love the most. We all love all of our animals, okay? But for me, it's pigs. Why? Because they're so darn smart. They're so smart and amazing. Hey, while you're doing that, I'm going to bring my son in. They're playing video games while I do this. Raj, you want to come in and say hi? Okay, my son Roger's coming on. He's going to come here. Come on in, buddy. Come on in. Looking all good with your hair and everything. This is my son, Roger. He has been vegan since birth. And this dude, we adopted you when you were a baby. He was 0. He was 0 years old. And he's doing awesome. So why are you vegan? Is this something that you kind of chose? Like, is there a fast chose? We chose. Come on, I can't see you.
I went with it.
You just went with it. You're like, yeah, I guess my parents know what they're talking about. Give this thing a shot. Okay. Well, why do you like this vegan thing that we're doing?
Because it makes me feel much better. It makes me feel like a better person because I'm saving those animals out there.
Yeah.
So
I love it, man.
love being vegan.
I
It's
love
amazing.
it.
It's amazing.
This guy was up for like cutest vegan kid by PETA, I think a couple years ago. And we didn't get the main one, but he was top 10 for sure. I think he's pretty darn cute myself. Do you have anything else you want to tell people? This is for Peak Sanctuary. So
What do I say?
you can say whatever you want, man. What's your favorite thing to eat as a kid? I'm sure there's other kids out there watching that are like, hey man, I wonder what this vegan kid eats. What do you?
Our favorite is we like Diet mac and cheese. It's a pretty good one.
And Daddy's mac and cheese too.
My dad has his famous recipe. We have baked potato soup,
Yeah, baked potato soup.
potatoes.
Let me ask you one question, and our light went out, so it's okay. But let me ask you this: What about the social aspect? Roger's 9, by the way.
What do you mean?
Come closer. I can't see you.
What do you mean?
Like when you go to school, do kids ask you, or when you went to school? You're not going to school now, but when you went to school, were people like, "Oh, you're vegan? That's weird." They're like, "What did they say? How do you handle that?"
They just asked me questions. They thought that I couldn't eat many things, and I told them that when you're vegan, you can eat many other things. And they thought I was crazy. I told them how many things that you can eat when you're vegan, and they were shocked.
Yeah, there's nothing you're missing out on, man. You got pizza, you got mac and cheese, you got what else?
Chicken tenders and tater tots.
Chicken tenders and tater tots. Hello. But we focus most of the time on food. It's fruits and veggies. Fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, beans, whole grains. These are the things that fuel our body and make us super happy and super strong. All right, go get your baby brother. Let's see if he wants to come on. So I'm going to bring my son. He's 5. My little son, he's 5. And he wants to show you. You can show us your dinosaur. He wants to show you his dinosaur. So he's going to do it real quick. Oh, don't yell at him, man. Come on, buddy. Hurry. I got to start making some food. We only have 23 minutes left. Hey, we're live, guys. We're live. Happy New Year. Come on in. I'm going to pick you up, okay, so I can see you. Do you have underwear on? Yeah. All right, good. Whoa. That's a scary one. He just got out of the bathtub. So this is Parker. He's also been vegan since birth, and he's got a dinosaur. Show him what the dinosaur does. Moves his head around. Oh, that's really dangerous. All right, good job. What's your favorite food to eat? What's your favorite? Oh, tiny dinosaur. What's your favorite food to eat, Boo?
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese. These kids love mac and cheese. All right, get out of here.
And chicken tenders and french fries. And
Chicken tenders and french fries. They're talking about Gardein. Just FYI.
a tater tot.
Good. Get out of here. Love you. All right. So listen, we got a lot of mac and cheese mentions. Now, the brand they're talking about is Daya. Okay, so I'm going to show you that brand real quick. So yeah, this is a brand, that is vegan friendly, of course. We love Daya. And then, of course, you've also got like Annie's, which is a great brand. So you got a couple things. But for me, the biggest thing, one of the things that I love is brown rice pasta, okay, as he runs around. This is brown rice pasta that we use. It's called Tink Yada, okay? And it's gluten-free and it's got some protein in it, and it's not mushy. The texture is really, really good. So if you're looking for a good brown rice pasta and your kids are just like, oh, I just want butter and noodles, or I just want plain noodles, like whatever, you can like totally put some extra protein, fiber, everything in them by giving them this instead of like your traditional pasta noodle. So that is a little tip for you. While we're on the subject, let's talk about a couple other yummy vegan things. Yes, you may have that right now. Who wants a snack? So go ahead. Roger will open it for you, okay? Watch your step over there. Watch your step with the cord. There's a cord for the light. I don't want him to trip. All right, so other vegan products that we love. It is winter right now. It is cold outside, so we love Dandy's marshmallows. These are vegan marshmallows without gelatin, which we all love because I don't know about you, but I don't like eating horse hooves. So that is good to go. And then we're going to use these in a little bit. These are our Enjoy Life mini chocolate chips. Super tasty. They taste like chocolate. Shocker, right? They're good. They just don't have animals in them. And then we have Tolerant Organic chickpeas. This is another type of pasta. It's like a chickpea pasta, so go check that out. And then finally, something that you need to have in your pantry if you don't is nutritional yeast, aka Nooch. It can give you a taste that has like a cheesy, awesome taste and something that you might love. So those are some snapshots of a couple awesome vegan products. Let's start at the beginning, okay? At the beginning, when I wake up, what do I do? Yeah, guys. All right, the first thing I do is I start off with this. This is a lemon, shocker, okay? So a lot of people think about multivitamins, think about that. This has a ton of vitamins in it, okay? And I'm not going to talk specifically about vitamins because I'm not a dietitian. I'm just telling you right now, this has a great start to your morning. I cut it in half. And it looks like, shocker this, I squeeze half of this into some water. It's the first thing I do, the only thing I do in the morning. Now, I drink coffee like everybody else. Coffee is great. I love coffee. It tastes good. I enjoy it. I'm not addicted to it. I don't do 5, 6, 7 cups of coffee a day. I don't rely on it to give me energy. In fact, I haven't had any coffee today. I'm not allergic to it, no. So I am not addicted to it, is what I said. But it is good. So I love it. It tastes great. And when I have it, I put some vegan creamer in it. I don't know about you guys. Let me know in the comments. But this is one of my favorites, right? The Silk brand. Silk has some awesome stuff in there. So go check that out. So next we've got, breakfast. Breakfast is something we do. Oh, I forgot to tell you. With my lemon water, all right, I will typically do some vitamin D drops. Now, vitamin D is one of the number one deficiencies out there, okay? Like vegan people, not vegan people, whatever, you got B12, what, and D3. But D3 is a big deal. So I go to Vitacost and I get these D3 drops. These have 2,000 IU, which is great. I'll do 5 drops of this because you can't get too much D3, right? Your body will just get rid of it if it doesn't need it. But great for keeping your immune system strong. You think of vitamin C when you think of your immune system. Some people think of orange juice, stuff like that, whatever. That's fine. But vitamin D is often forgot about. And so instead, go outside, get your vitamin D that way. Of course, stay out in the sun for 10, 15 minutes, whatever, a day. Make sure you do that. If longer, make sure you got your suntan lotion. But for the most part, let's see if I can get my light back on here, guys. For the most part, that's what you want to do is the vitamin D, adding to it. And I'll do it for my kids too. I typically will do 1 drop per how old the kid is, So if he's 5, he's going to get, 5 drops, 4 drops, something like that. So can't really do too much, which is awesome. All right. After that, you wake up in the morning, what do? You have oatmeal, okay? So I love oatmeal, and I'm going to show you how I put my oatmeal together. Now, I know you're kind of like, what? What are you talking about, dude? It's stinking oatmeal. Like, it's oatmeal. But I want to show you how I do it because everything I do is quick and easy. Every recipe over at leangreendad.com, 15 minutes or less, super easy because the truth is, we don't have a lot of time. As busy parents, we just don't have time, okay? I want to make an elaborate meal that takes 45 minutes, but ain't nobody got time for that. All right. So I'm going to bring you down right here. And you can see I'm in my PJ pants like everybody else. PJ party. It's called 2020. All right. So this is rolled oats. These are awesome. I love these rolled oats. They are non-GMO. They are super great. And I'm just going to dump them into a bowl. So how much? I don't know. However much I want. They expand so it looks like they're more than they usually are. So there we go. I got this. I'm going to fill it with some filtered water just above the oats. So I've got those, okay? So check it. There you go. Oats. Water just above it. I'm going to put it in for actually 1:45. So 1 minute and 45 seconds, okay? Now, while that's cooking in the microwave, I'm going to show you the stuff I put on top of my oatmeal. And that is going to be tons of fruits, delicious fruits, and also some maple syrup and even some crushed nuts and dates, which is amazing. I'm going to knock it all out, okay? So, I want to show you a special device that I can't locate right now. Oh, found it. All right, so here's this. And this. All right, I'm back. Sorry, I had to go in the pantry for a second. It's this. Do you know what this is? If you do, let me know in the comments. Do you know what this is? Do you know? If you don't know, then I'll tell you in a second. Build the anticipation. There we go. All right, so 57 seconds on that oatmeal. I'm going to bring in my cutting board, and we're going to get busy. Boom. Let's make sure I get rid of this tahini. That's for a recipe in a second. All right. So let's get you guys back a little bit. Bear with me here because we are doing this live. Can you see my space? Not yet. There you go. Now you can kind of see my cooking space. Yeah, you're good. All right. All right, you're good. You can see this, right? Let me know if you can see it. Can you see the cooking space? Okay, first thing first. I've got a frozen banana in here. This banana is all mushy. So I'm gonna scratch the banana. Look at this. I was like, come on, it was frozen when we started, but now it's all mushy. I don't want to use that. So that's what happens when you're live. All right, oatmeal is ready. Ow, ow, ow. There we go. So, can you see the oatmeal? You can see the oatmeal. All right. Berries. This is a massive bag of frozen berries. I'm going to throw some frozen berries on top. These are not nasty and mushy. But look at my hand. Ah! All right, I got to rinse that off. My hand's going to be stained all red now, right? Yeah. All right, we're good. We got our berries on top. You can see the berries in the bowl. Next, we are going to put a banana if I had it, and I don't have a banana. So I'm going to do dates instead, okay? Now, this is a big bulk bag of Medjool. How do you pronounce it, guys? Medjool dates, okay? Now, these dates I'm going to take out the pit. I'm going to actually I'll do 2 dates today. I feel like a 2-date day. All right. By the way, speaking of dates, you should totally go on those with your partner, husband, wife. Do it. Our date nights are Thursdays. All right. Okay, got the dates. Just going to give them a little cut. Cut them up, almost like little raisins. Little chewy, delicious morsels. Okay. And then I'm going to put them right on top. This is not brain surgery, guys. This is not like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, life-changing. No, it's just what we do as vegan parents. All right, so we got the bowl with dates. We got dates, we got berries, we got oatmeal. I'm going to do a couple other things. I'm going to add a dash of almond milk. I'm going to add a dash of almond milk right there, okay? And then, in addition, I'm going to add some maple syrup. Maple syrup is our best friend. So here we go, maple syrup town. Boom. Just a little dash. And then we got this beautiful purple monster here, okay? Yeah, you can see it in a minute. I'll help you in a minute. Now, this is a nut crusher. I'm going to crush some cashews. You put them in the top, like so. Did you know cashews have antidepressant qualities? They can help you. Okay, come on over, buddy. You want to do it?
Yeah.
All right, come on over.
Smashing.
All right, you like smashing cashews? Okay, give it a, hang on, leave the knife away from you. All right, give it a turn. Go for it. Turn it. Use those muscles. Yeah! You need some help? Yeah. Good job. Keep going. Whoa. When you have a kid make their food, they're 10 times more likely to eat it. I made up that stat, but yeah. Good job. All right, you're done. Way to go. High five. Low five. Get out of here, you kid. All right, good. Okay, there we are. Okay, now I'm going to take these off. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of these. Check it out. Look what they do. Okay, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on top. Just a little bit. It's like taking a happy pill, except it's cashews, which is very, very cool. All right, so we're good. Now, stick with me because we're going to be making cookies in a second, guys. Cookies that you can make in literally 3 minutes, okay? It's going to be worth it, I promise. We've got 11 minutes left. Stick with me. All right, this is my morning oatmeal. This is what it looks like. You have that with a little bit of lemon juice, and you are set. Lemon water, and you're set, okay? So I'm going to set this aside, and now we're going to get to the goods, all right? The goods are the cookies. Now, typically, hey, Roger, keep it down for me, okay? I want to make sure everybody can hear me because we're talking about cookies, which is really important. Do you guys want to have some cookies later?
Yeah.
All right. What kind? Chocolate chip, okay? Well, sorry, that's what we're doing. Chocolate chip. Oatmeal cookies. No, not ready for that yet. I just got yummy regular cookies. Okay, so you can find this recipe over on leangreendad.com. In order to find it, you're going to type the word cookie dough. And when you type the word cookie dough, I'm going to show you on my iPad, okay, what it looks like. You'll find these little guys. Okay, you can see, kind of, sort of. Little guys. There's a YouTube video, and then there's this. Okay, so I'm going to be pulling from that recipe. Just search cookie dough. You'll find this, a 3-minute cookie dough recipe. You can see the bowl, so we're good to go. The first thing you're going to do is a half cup of white whole wheat flour. Okay, Now, I've got to find my flour because it's missing. Sorry guys, live cooking show. Here we go. So the first thing we need is a half cup of holy flour. So I'm going to go here. Pretty sure that's a half cup. So I'm going to go down to my flour. And we're set. All right. So I'm using white all-purpose flour right now, unbleached, super awesome, healthy, good to go. Not as healthy as whole wheat flour, but hey, we're doing what we can. Okay. So 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking soda. All right. Baking soda. Hey guys, don't fight while I'm going live. Don't fight while I'm going live. This is real life, people. All right. So 1/8 of a teaspoon. Baking soda. Boom. Now, we're going to do one more thing. Maple syrup. Okay? 1/4 cup of maple syrup. Guys, you're going to see this turn into something that you're like, what are you talking about? This is unbelievable. Okay? It tastes great. We're going to hold on the maple syrup until the end. Now, I'm going to introduce you to tahini. Have you met my friend Tahini? This is tahini. If you and what is it made out of? Well, it's sesame seeds, ground sesame seeds. Okay. Now, if you don't like tahini, then you can use peanut butter. All right. This is probably not the best brand, but it's what I had. So you do. That's good. If you're allergic to peanut butter, try sun butter. Sun butter is great. All right. So I'm going to use tahini for mine, and I'm going to do 1/4 cup, which is this one. Okay. So tahini is relatively creamy, but we need it to be stirred. So I'm going to make sure we're all stirred up, which we are. Cool. Get rid of the excess. Good to go. You just watching me, buddy? Just watching your dad do some cooking? It's all good. Okay, 1/4 cup of tahini. Here it goes. You can see it in the bowl. Rocking and rolling. Okay? Now, after the tahini, we have maple syrup, which is a 1/4 cup, I believe. Let me triple check that, guys. Looking at the recipe. 1/4 cup of maple syrup. Boom. All right. And then we have our chocolate chips. So let's make sure we don't have any already. We do. Holy cow. My wife would have been like, chocolate chip. All right. So it says to use 1/4 cup, but I'm just going to sprinkle some in. Call it a day. Okay. Now, my oven is heated up to 325, so I'm good to go there. And I've got this mixture right here. This is going to be my cookies. So this is going to blow your mind. Are you ready? I'm going to go ahead and mix this up, and you'll see it's going to turn into creamy goodness. Can you see this? Look. This is making cookie dough right now. Are you happy, buddy? You know the great thing about this cookie dough? Keep watching. The great thing about this cookie dough is you can eat it right now. There's nothing in it. Salmonella, you don't have to worry about what thing. Yeah, you can have a snack. Not right now, man. Not that right now. Wait until I'm done. I'm almost done. Okay, we only have 6 minutes left, and then I'll help you. No, not chips right now, please. Hey, Raj, can you help me with Parker? Yeah, baby. He wants some mixed fruit. Here. No, I'm good. Never mind. I'm good. Here you go. Go sit down with that. You can have them. Go for it. My wife is taking my daughter to dance, and that's why I am alone with the boys. All right, so check it out, guys. Look, that's your cookie dough. Now, you can eat this right now if you wanted to. If the tahini was a little colder, we could do that. But I'm just going to tell you right now, it is amazing. Okay? So now you can put it on your cookie sheet. You're going to make it at 325. Okay? 325 for, let's see. What do I think? 12 minutes. Okay? So let's just place these bad boys on the tray. And guys, these are tested. These recipes are tested and proven to be a fan favorite for the kiddos. So they love them. And not just my kids. They don't taste like tahini. They taste like happy. All right, there's that. And I'm going to put them in, and I'm going to test it out. You're watching me? Thank you. That's kind of scary. My kid's like, I'm watching you. Great. No, he's fine, Roger. No, he's watching. He's watching me make some yummy vegan stuff. Now, this is making 6 total cookies, but we could make more. Check it out. All right, we're gonna put those in. Now, we obviously don't have 12 minutes, okay? But that's how long it takes for them to cook. You're gonna keep an eye on them, make sure they're nice and golden brown and stuff like that. No eggs, no dairy, no nothing. It's awesome. It's a piece of cake. Now, we're coming to the end of the show, so I'm gonna tell you one thing. I want to give you my free ebook. I want to give it to you, okay? It's 54 pages. If you've stuck around this long, I'm happy to give it to you. All right, we sell it on Amazon, but it is free for you. Just for this peak telethon, I want to give it to you, all right? So head over to my Facebook page, head over anywhere, you'll see how to do it, but I'm going to tell you right now. I have a private Facebook group for vegan parents, plant-based parents, people just like you and me, okay? Even if you're not a parent, you want to have quick and easy meals in 15 minutes or less that, everybody loves, including kids, then hop over there. When you go into the Lean Green team, you're going to make a request, and that request is going to be, can I come into the group, right? I'm going to see it. I'm going to approve it. There's 3 questions that I ask you, all right? This is how to get the ebook. The first question is, what do you want me to call you, right? What is your name? Because oftentimes Facebook puts in an automatic name, and I want to know what you want me to call you because I'm going to write you an email, all right, to send you the ebook. Hang on. The second thing is, what is your biggest struggle with a plant-based or vegan diet, okay? That is so I can keep creating content that's relevant for you, all right? And then third, what's your email address? Because I want to send it to you via email, okay? So it's no tricks, nothing weird, nothing shady. It is going to send you an email sequence. This sequence includes a couple of emails that are all recipes just for you, including the vegan cookies that don't suck recipe, okay? Including my 54-page ebook with like 15 recipes that you can make 3 different ways, depending on what phase you're on a plant-based diet. You might be just like, incorporating fake meats, fake cheeses. Then you might want to cut oil. Maybe you want to do whole food plant-based. I'm about 90% whole food plant-based myself, right? So these are things to think about. But I wanted to at least present that to you, let you know that it's available. And the best way to get it is to go up to the Lean Green Team private Facebook group, make a request to come into the group, and then you're rocking and rolling. Okay? So I want to give a shout out to Allison. Allison Hess, thank you so much for your comment. She said so many good ideas here. I'm so glad. I'll be here for another few minutes, and I'm just going to hang out. If there's any questions, any comments, please let me know. I'm here. All right. What's up? What's up, Pete? Yeah, we'll take a turn in just a second, guys. I'm live for just 2 more minutes, guys, so just hang out. You're getting so good. So Annie is watching the comments right now while I'm live. If there are comments later, please feel free to leave them. Annie and the team will absolutely respond to you. So let us know in the comments if you have any questions. If you're like, hey, where do I get a free ebook again? Let me know. I'm just trying to think through a couple of things as we, wait for questions. There is a little bit of a delay, so there might not be, the time. Maybe Annie will let us run a little bit over. But guys, again, I will be monitoring the comments. I'll jump in and I'll make sure that if you have a question, I will answer them. My last thing is, don't be so tough on yourself. Don't be so tough on yourself. If you are trying the best you can, and, I don't know if you heard, but my kid just came in here. He's like, can I have chips? I can't stand chips. I can't stand it. They're like the worst choice for a snack ever, right? So I will ask my kids, have you tried a snack that is like, have you had fruit today? Have you had a handful of blueberries today? Like, what have you done today, for you? Because I want to make them aware of what they're putting in their body. It's a big deal. So I want to let you know you're doing a great job. You're an amazing parent. You're working your booty off, and that's a big deal. So just know that even the fact that you care enough about your kids to think about what they're eating, don't beat yourself up for giving them Gardein chicken nuggets. Just do the best job you can. And when you can make dinner, make dinner. When you have 15 minutes and you want to try the Lean Green meal plan, go check it out, right? leangreenmealplan.com, right? You can get started for free for that too. Free 7-day meal plan right away. So lots of opportunities. Okay, I have a question. Okay, the question is, Corey, what about when your kids go to friends' houses? Do they bring their own food to stay vegan? Okay, so my kids, when they go to a friend's house, it's pretty. I'm in a situation where like I'm pretty publicly vegan. Like people know our family is vegan. We scream it from the mountaintops, but we scream it as like a beacon to let people know that like if you want to try it, let us know. We don't do it from like a very extremely preachy and judgmental side, right? It's very tough sometimes when you are vegan because people will instantly think that you're better than them. And it's not about that. It's not about that. We did this for us. We did this very selfishly for my wife's condition. And then we were enlightened. And once you learn the information about how animals are treated and you learn about the impact on the environment, then you can't go back. You can't go back. And why would you want to go back, right? So for me, my kids are who they are. It radiates from them. They are waving their vegan flags proudly. And everybody knows that they're vegan. And I would say that half of the time, the friends that she would go hang out with, not only do they know that she's vegan, like totally, right? It's an opportunity for her to give some education. She's 12. And so would she bring her own food to their house? Probably not. She would probably just try to accommodate her vegan, lifestyle for them. And that would mean that if they're doing, I don't know, meat and potatoes, maybe it's chicken and potatoes or something like that, she would just eat the potatoes, right? She ain't gonna starve. She don't need the meat to survive, right? So we're gonna wrap it up, everybody. Listen, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, head over to the Lean Green Team private Facebook group and get that free 54-page ebook. I cannot thank you enough for everything. I'm going to sign off now. Again, Corey from Lean Green Dad, leangreendad.com, leangreenmealplan.com. Thank you. Thanks to Annie. Thanks to Dr. Ernie. Thank you to all of you, and we'll see you soon.
Hey, everybody. Can Annie tell me if I'm being heard? I'm just going to assume that I am. Yeah, okay, cool. Hey, good morning. Happy last day of a year that for, I think, just about everybody has been really tough. And I know it's been degrees of difficulty. And you know who has a tough year every year? It's animals in the food industry. And that's really why we're here today, to help out the very deserving cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, and others at the wonderful Uplands Peak Sanctuary in Indiana. They're the first sanctuary in Indiana. And they're just doing such great work and such great outreach. So that's why all of us are here today doing this telethon. And any funds that you contribute in this particular hour, 11 to 12 Eastern Time, will be matched up to $300 by Main Street Vegan Academy. So if you can help out even a little bit, you know, the matching funds thing is so cool. I know it's the end of the year and we've all been giving a lot, but you know, if you can give $5, it becomes 10. If you can give 25, it becomes 50. So pretty cool, kind of like what we learned in school about compound interest. So I'm here today not just to tell you how wonderful Uplands Peak Sanctuary is, although it is, but also to give you a couple of quick classes in the fundamentals of Ayurveda. Ayurveda is the healthcare system that grew up in India alongside yoga. It's still recognized by the World Health Organization as a viable healing modality. And since I have been using some of these Ayurvedic hacks, oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how much better things are in my life and health, digestion, sleep, attitude, a whole lot. And so I'm happy to share these with you. So let me get the technology going. That is sometimes a challenging thing. Okay. Well, application window. You know what? Maybe it's not so hard after all. And now let's get this in the right kind of format so that you guys can see it. Let's see. Slideshow, full screen. Well, it's not quite perfect because you're not supposed to be seeing that stuff over at the side. But you know what? We don't have to be perfect. We just have to be generous. So here again is a little bit of a shout out for Uplands Peak. So do remember that that's what we're here for today and all through the evening when we celebrate tonight with Honey LeBronx. That is going to be super fun. Okay, we are here right now to talk about Ayurveda, which actually means the science of life. You sometimes will see it as the science of long life. So the reason that Ayurveda is important, or can be if you choose to use it in your life, is that these are proven self-care tools. Ayurveda actually started 5,000 years ago when the ancient rishis of India came up with these principles that then went on to Tibet and China and became the basis of the traditional medical systems there as well. Another very cool thing about Ayurveda is that it is customized. This is a way that you can understand yourself at a constitutional level. And you're already a vegan and probably conscious of your health, and so you've got a head start. Now, some people shy away from Ayurveda because Ayurveda does come from India, where there's a strong cultural and religious connection to dairy products and to ghee. A lot of amazing people in India and people of Indian descent who are living in other countries are working really hard to veganize the land of ahimsa, because we did get that wonderful concept of dynamic harmlessness from the yogic and Vedic traditions of India. So hopefully this country with so much spirituality and wonderfulness is going to awaken to what's going on with cows. But Ayurveda traditionally has recommended ghee, which is clarified butter. Now, I don't use ghee at all or anything like that. And yet, if you want to be real strict with when the Ayurvedic recipe calls for ghee, the good people at Nutiva have come up with a vegan ghee. It's based on avocado oil and coconut oil and some amazing turmeric. I mean, turmeric is amazing wherever you put it. So that's something that is available. And Ayurveda works blissfully when you do it as a vegan. So something that's very important in Ayurveda is the chronobiology, is what it's being called now. This is about our circadian rhythms. And in Ayurveda, they call the daily routine Dinacharya. And they say that the day starts the night before. So you don't want to go to bed with a lot of food in your stomach. So ideally, your evening meal is going to be pretty light. Ayurveda likes you to have your big meal in the middle of the day when that's possible. I'm sorry. And finish dinner 3 hours before bedtime. Turn off all your electronics at least 1 hour before. And you want to get to bed early. 10 o'clock is kind of ideal. If you need to stay up till 10:30, it's not the end of the world. But according to Ayurveda, please don't stay up any later than that. You want to sleep in a dark, quiet room and give yourself a little help with some lavender oil on your pillow. You can put a little bit on the soles of your feet. You can also massage your feet, just short, 5 minutes, with warm oil. Warm sesame oil is often recommended. And this amazingly helps with insomnia. So Ayurveda also suggests that we get up just before the sun. So depending on times of year and the annoyance of daylight savings time and all that, it's more or less 6 a.m. ish. So you want in the morning to do cleansing practices. So one of the things that Ayurveda is really big on is scraping your tongue. You notice this maybe not on ordinary mornings, but certainly if you've ever done any kind of fast or cleanse, that your tongue just gets gunk on it in the night. And when you're cleansing, you can really notice that. But it happens every night because at night as we sleep, we're detoxing. So with a little tongue scraper, stainless steel or copper or sterling silver, you can get them online. You can get them in Indian markets. You scrape that gunk off your tongue. You don't want to scrape real hard, just gently, 8-10 scrapes. And this in Ayurveda is called ama, or metabolic debris. So you want to get rid of that stuff before you start your day. Then you want to hydrate. So warm water with lemon or lime has long been recommended, or you could have a lovely herbal tea like ginger or licorice. If you have hypertension, you may need to be careful with licorice. Talk to your doctor about that. But for other people, that's a lovely, lovely tea that has this lovely, delicate sweetness that helps a lot of people to eat less sugar. So you want to have a nice big cup of that shortly after you awaken, and wait at least 15 minutes before you have breakfast or before you have coffee. And what this does is hydrate your body. If you use the lemon or lime, it's also alkalizing, and it also regulates your elimination. So if you have any trouble with that, with constipation, especially in the winter, then having this warm or hot herbal tea or lemon water in the morning can really, really be helpful. And then a little bit of morning yoga. You don't have to twist yourself into knots, but just to really stretch out and let your body know that it's time for a day. And you know what? Time for a wonderful day. We're gearing up for that anyway, right? We're gearing up for a wonderful year. So one of the other morning routines that Ayurveda loves is called Abhyanga. And it's particularly wonderful in the winter because it's almost like giving you an extra layer of warmth when you go out into the world. So ideally, in the best of all possible worlds, you would do this every morning. But in the world we have, maybe you'll get to it twice a week. But however often you do it is really helpful. So Abhyanga is warm oil massage. So you take your oil. Sesame is great for most people. If it seems a little bit thick or sticky, maybe you'd rather have almond oil. So you put it in something that's going to heat it. You can either put it in a little container and put the container in a mug of hot water and let it warm up that way. I have a little burner that's actually for scented oils, and you put a little tea light in the bottom and the oil in the burner, and it warms up that way. So very carefully you warm up the oil. It can get hot pretty fast, so be really, really careful. Test it out. And then you want to start massaging at the top of your head. And Ayurveda would say use the flats of your hands, although truly sometimes I just like to get in there with my fingers. There's really no wrong way to do this. And then you'll use long strokes over your bums, circular motions around the joints, and you want to spend the most time on your head and on your feet. Now, in all honesty, on days when I don't plan to wash my hair, I just start with my face and leave my head out. But whatever works. But on the days that I'm able to do the full Abhyanga, I can really notice the difference. Now, warning, your feet are going to be oily. And so you want to be really, really careful. Wear slippers, have a bath mat, clean off your feet before you get into the shower. And ideally, if you have the time, you want to give those oils 20 minutes to just soak in and do their benefits. So you might want to do your Abhyanga, get your warm oil on, and then bundle yourself up and go out for a nice brisk walk for 20 minutes. And that actually helps the oil seep in just a little bit more. Or you can take that 20 minutes to do your meditation or whatever works for you in the morning and then shower off. It's a beautiful, blissful indulgence that actually shows up in your health. And in some of the ancient Ayurvedic texts, there are these wonderful flowery descriptions of Abhyanga that people who do it can defy age. That sounds pretty good to me. How about you? So after your shower and your meditation, you want to have a light, appropriate breakfast. And by appropriate in Ayurveda, we're talking about what's appropriate to your particular body type, which we're going to talk about later. But pretty much your standard whole foods, plant-based breakfast is going to be A-okay for Ayurveda too. So oatmeal, really nice, hot, soupy oatmeal. I've gotten into warming the non-dairy milk and putting it on there. And then, of course, adding spices we'll talk about later, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, all these wonderful antioxidant spices. You can put on ground flax, walnuts, berries, chopped dates, whatever makes you happy for your breakfast. And then midday, this is when your digestion is going great guns. And so many people with digestive difficulties find that if they are able to shift that eating time so that instead of having a big meal at the end of the day, they have the big meal right about noon, it really changes everything. Now, that's really tough for people going into an office. Maybe they only get 45 minutes for lunch, but a lot of us are working from home right now. And one of the benefits of that just might be to switch around your eating schedule. Try it, see what happens. So if you do tend to have sluggish digestion or difficult digestion, you can have a little bit of fresh ginger before the meal. And what you do is peel your fresh ginger and slice it very thinly. You can either leave it in slices or you can chop it and put it in a small bowl with some lemon juice and a little bit of good salt, like Indian black salt or Celtic sea salt, something like that. Just leave it in the fridge, and before your main meals, just eat a little bit of the ginger. It really, really helps. Afterwards, you can choose some fennel seeds. You can take a 10-minute stroll. This is not a power walk. This is a digestive stroll. Or you can lie for 10 minutes on your left side. I was talking with a young woman who grew up in an Ayurvedic family, and she said that her dad would always tease them and say, I'm going to go now and take some LSD. But what that meant was left side down. So all through the day, remember, we hydrated in the morning with that big mug of herbal tea or lemon water, but we're going to continue that hydration, not with giant gulps, but with gentle sips of hot water just by itself or your favorite herbal teas. So iced beverages put out the digestive fire. So you don't want to ever use ice. That same young woman who grew up in the Ayurvedic family said that she thought until she was about 14 that iced beverages were like sins. You don't want to lie, you don't want to steal, you don't want to drink iced beverages. Now, in the summertime, certainly cooler beverages, particularly for the pitta body type, which we'll talk about in a little bit, are refreshing and wonderful. Coconut water in the summer is really only good when it's cold, and that can be a lovely refresher. But generally speaking, and especially this time of year, you want to be keeping yourself warm and hydrated through the day with ginger tea, fenugreek, turmeric, all kinds of wonderful healing teas of that nature. Now, whenever you have a meal, we're talking here your light supper, but the same thing absolutely applies for your big meal, which ideally now is going to be lunch. You want to have all 6 tastes. Now, the 6 tastes in Ayurveda are sweet, sour, salty, bitter, pungent, and astringent. And the one that's kind of unusual is astringent. But if you think about these foods that are listed here and what they have in common taste-wise, that they're just a little bit kind of dry. It was almost like they were on the road to being sour, but they didn't get very far. So we're talking beans, tofu, potatoes, apple, pomegranate. Those are the astringent tastes. So the idea of getting all of these in each meal originally was so that you could have a full nutritional complement, because before anybody had nutrition charts or knew about iron and calcium and riboflavin, we still had a variety of wonderful plant foods, different colors, different flavors. And in getting a vast array of these, we could guarantee that we're getting all the nutrients that we need. In addition, having those 6 tastes is going to give you satisfaction. And oh my gosh, as somebody who struggled with overeating and all that stuff for 30 years of my life, this idea of being satisfied after a meal, it's just so important. And I can remember back in the days when I did binge eating and I would just stare at the refrigerator looking for what was missing. But I didn't know at that time that possibly what was missing was one of these tastes that would make me feel complete. And here's a little trick. If you don't feel that you're able to get all the tastes in a meal, although it's really pretty easy, you can have chutney. Chutney is an Indian condiment. You can find recipes for it all over, or you can buy it in a jar. It's usually based on mango, but it can be based on apple or dates. And chutney is designed to include all 6 tastes. So, little trick. Now, the 3 gunas are another aspect of Ayurveda, but you've also heard of them if you've done yoga, and that is the modes of matter on earth. So we've got the mode of inertia and decay. That's called tamas. The mode of action and passion is rajas, and the mode of balance and purity is sattva. So they're all necessary. I mean, certainly we need the action and passion to get out and do things. In fact, right now, we need enough action and passion to go to bye2020.org and make a contribution to the most deserving animals of the Uplands Peak Sanctuary. So this is important. We need to act. We need to be motivated. We need to get out in the world and make things better. But we don't want to be in that action mood all the time because we'd burn ourselves out. Now, inertia and decay, tamas, well, that just sounds awful. And yet, that's composting. That's how life works. How one thing leaves, changes form, contributes to something else. But sattva is the mode that we want to focus on and really shoot for if we're trying to have a spiritual life or trying to really elevate our character and our consciousness while we're on this planet. And there are lots of ways that you can increase the sattvic nature of your life. You can be around sattvic people. You can be around uplifting, wonderful people who just make you feel so good. You can also listen to wonderful music, spend time in nature, and you can eat sattvic foods. So sattvic foods are vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, that means beans, and nuts and seeds. So guess what? That's a familiar list, isn't it? Those are what I called in my book, Main Street Vegan, the 5 fitness food groups. These are the foods that we eat as vegans. And you want to prepare your food properly too, because if you take your beautiful sattvic food and then you deep fry it, all of a sudden it becomes tamasic. So we want beautiful food from the plant kingdom, properly prepared, eaten at the right time of day and in the right frame of mind. When diet is wrong, says Ayurveda, medicine is of no use. When diet is correct, medicine is of no need. So if this has sparked your interest at all, here are a couple of books I absolutely love. Perfect Health by Deepak Chopra is, I think, his oldest book. He wrote it back in 1991. It's not a vegetarian book, but even so, I have read it, I don't know, 20 times, 25 times. It's really my textbook for Ayurveda, and I find a lot of help there. Now, the Ayurvedic Self-Care Handbook by Dr. Sarah Kuchera is really interesting because Dr. Kuchera is practicing in Kansas City as a chiropractor and an Ayurvedic practitioner, and she is a vegan. She is one of us. So that's something to know about. She has been a guest on the Main Street Vegan podcast. You could look that up. And she's going to come back in early March. I believe the live date is March the 3rd. And she's going to talk about how to take care of ourselves for that late winter going into spring period of time. And here are a couple of cookbooks that you might find interesting. They are both Ayurvedic and they are both completely vegan. The Ayurvedic Vegan Kitchen has been around quite a while. It's where I get this wonderful recipe called the Ayurvedic chocolate shake, or I believe she calls it the Indian chocolate shake. I have worked with it and kind of tweaked it and made my own version. But oh my gosh, if you haven't had an Indian chocolate shake, you have not lived. So it's a chocolate shake that's got all kinds of spices in it that you wouldn't expect to go into a smoothie, even ginger and cayenne. It's wonderful, fabulous. And Eat, Feel Fresh is a newer book from a lovely young author, Sahara Rose Kitale, and it's based on her having been a raw fooder. Ayurveda is not raw at all. Ayurveda likes cooked food, but she's kind of combined where she's come from with where she is now to do a wonderful updated take on vegan Ayurveda. So I recommend all of these books. Now we're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about animals and sanctuaries in Upland Peak, and then we're going to talk about the doshas. This means exactly who you are Ayurvedically. Are you a Vata, a Pitta, a Kapha, or some combination? Well, we're going to find out. Now, if you would like to be in touch with me, FYI, all you have to do is text vegan to 55444. And they will ask you your email, and then you will be on the list for the Main Street Vegan blog and newsletter. It would be wonderful to have you as part of the Main Street Vegan family. Now, let me see if I can figure how to get from one group of slides to another. In fact, I'm just going to do stop sharing for a second. Stop sharing. So just want to let you know that the reason that we are here and why we're doing this whole thing is because animals in the food industry have never been recognized as the individuals that they are. I'm just looking at my dog, my rescue dog over here. I also have a rescue pigeon, and I just learned so much from them. But my dog is a mammal. He could be a pig, he could be a sheep or a goat or a cow, and his life would be a whole lot different. Now, my pigeon, Thunder, he's blind in one eye. That's why he can't be out on the streets of New York, because he can't fly because of lack of ability to steer. But he has his needs and his interests and his preferences. My husband has been studying animal Reiki, the energy work. And I'm pretty open-minded. Sometimes I'm a little bit like, oh, I don't know how much is happening with these things that we can't see or can't measure. And yet, once my husband had done Reiki with Thunder, the pigeon, once, now he cannot sit on the couch without this pigeon crawling up his knee and just standing there. Like, okay, I'm here for my appointment. It is very obvious that Thunder feels something and it's good. So these are a couple of lucky animals rescued off the streets of New York City. But there are animals in farms, factory farms, slaughterhouses, feedlots right this moment that would give anything on earth to be rescued. A few lucky ones are rescued by sanctuaries such as Uplands Peak in Indiana that we're here for today. And we just need help because it's a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of money. Vet bills are not free in Indiana or anywhere else. So let's think of these wonderful animals and, dig as deep as you can. I know it's hard right now. So if deep isn't a big number, that's okay. Let's just do this anyway. Let's remember these animals. They didn't ask to be born. They didn't ask to come into this system, to this world that sees things in ways that you and I probably don't. So please be as generous as you can, and it's good karma. So now we're going to go back to screen sharing and a little bit more Ayurvedic education. So let's see what we got here on ye old screen share. We're going to go into slideshow. At least I think we are. There we go. Don't know why you guys are seeing that thing at the side, but you know what? Life is not perfect. It's just pretty good. So to contribute to Uplands Peak, oops, I have a typo. I left the S off of Uplands. And Peak, I want to tell you what Peak stands for. It's so cute. People, Earth, Animals, and Kindness. So wouldn't that be amazing if people all joined together for one another and the earth and the animals in kindness? Well, sounds to me like we'd pretty much have it all. So that link for contributing is bye2020.org, and the first $300 in donations made during this hour will be matched by Main Street Vegan. We are the Main Street Vegan Podcast, Main Street Vegan Academy, and Main Street Vegan Productions. Our first film that we helped on came out last year, and that was called A Prayer for Compassion. That's to encourage people who identify as religious or spiritual to look at vegan values. So moving on with our Ayurvedic program, the doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and you know what they are? They are a beautiful portrait of you, a portrait at least of the physical you. So to understand the doshas, these are energies that are circulating in the body and that govern your physiological and, to an extent, your psychological functioning. And they also govern nature's cycles. The day, remember we talked about daily routine, and the seasons and the stages of life. When we cooperate with them, we thrive. Ayurveda talked about this first, but modern medicine has caught up in the science of chronobiology. So your body type is absolutely just right. It was established at conception, and it had to do with heredity, with the state of mind, the state of nutrition of your parents at that time. But whatever it is, it's perfect. So you might be a whole lot pitta, not very much kapha, and even less vata, or that might be totally flipped around. But that is absolutely excellent for you. And so your job in staying healthy is to keep that beautiful balance that existed when you were born, not to balance each dosha out so that you have the same amount of all of them, but to be absolutely who you are. You know what? In this case, you did it right, and so did your parents. So to understand vata, which is comprised of air and ether, I've got Audrey and Fred here because they are quintessential Vata people. So when you think about their body type, they're lean, long necks, long fingers, kind of the traditional ballet, dancer kind of body. But most people are not a pure anything, and so they're mixed. So I, for example, am a Vata Pitta. So I'm a little bit like Audrey, but I also have broad shoulders. And I'm also, a little bit more, endowed than a typical vata. So you get to know yourself, and then you can treat yourself for exactly who you are. Now, what is really interesting is in balance and out of balance with each dosha. So in balance, vatas are amazing. They're curious, they're childlike, they're energetic, they have these fabulous ideas. They just lift up the room. We've heard about people who light up a room. Well, that is an imbalance vata. But when vata is out of balance, oh my gosh, they dry up, dry hair, dry skin. The digestion just gets sluggish. The joints get stiff. They're anxious. They're spacey. They're all over the place. Now, the vata time of life happens to be postmenopausal. Some people are saying now post-retirement age, but whatever. It's the later time of life. And if you look at some of these signs of an out of balance vata, we think, oh, well, these are things that happen in old age. Yes, they do, but they don't have to, or at least not to the extent that we think. So to make vata happy, they want to stay hydrated, warm, away from drafts. A predictable schedule is great for anybody, but for a vata, it is absolutely essential. Now, vata likes warm, moist foods. Oh my goodness. Vata likes that oatmeal that we talked about earlier. Vata likes soups and stews. And there is a kind of signature Ayurvedic dish called khichdi. And khichdi is comprised of rice and split mung dal or split lentils, lots of spices, and the vegetables that you want to add. And the best way to do khichdi, I have found, is in a slow cooker. Just let it simmer all morning. And that's just a perfect vata meal. It's warm, it's soft, it's comforting. Now, vata doesn't do well with stimulants. So caffeine, not so great, because vata's already, ta-da, here I am, kind of off the wall. So we don't want to pour caffeine on that. And eating on the run, not so good. So then we'll move on to the next body type, and that is Pitta. And we have the wonderful Williams sisters emphasizing Pitta. Now, if you look at these two body types, it's looking like we're seeing a pure Pitta on the right and a Vata Pitta on the left, a little bit less musculature. It's very interesting. Once you get into Ayurveda, you're thinking of everybody as what's their body type, and you want to be careful that you don't get annoying, like the kind of joke about the guy at the bar who comes up to people and says, "What's your sign?" You don't want to do that with what's your dosha. But it is fascinating. And it's also wonderful to know what the dosha is of people that you're close to, because it helps you understand them a lot better. Now, pitta, which translates as that which cooks, pitta people tend to be warm. Now, I am married to a pitta, and I used to think that he would just made the room cold to aggravate me. But now I understand, no, he's really hot. And so we've kind of worked that out. So pittas tend to be medium build, but if they set their mind to it, they can really pack on the muscle. In balance, pittas are wonderful. They are really smart. They are courageous. They're ambitious. They have great visioning powers. They have great executive power. So they can decide how things are going to be. So, for example, a pitta person would say, look, there are all these animals in the agriculture system. What are we going to do about that? Well, we're going to find this land and we're going to build a sanctuary. And while a Vata person might be saying, oh my gosh, isn't that too much to take on? Pitta is like, no, I'm taking it on. But out of balance, Pitta gets fiery. So if you think about red, what are the red conditions? Skin outbreaks, fever, inflammation, diarrhea, and emotion-wise, they can get rageful. They can get jealous. And so we want balance. It's all good, but only good if in balance. And the pitta time of life is puberty, or again, some people are now saying kind of early adulthood, like age 20 or post-college, through menopause or retirement, when the vata becomes more predominant. Now let's take care of that pitta. Let's pacify some of the overly fiery parts and celebrate the parts that are terrific. So a pitta person likes cooler rooms and cooler foods. Like sometimes for my husband, as a little appetizer, I'll just bring out a sliced cucumber with some kind of wonderful vegan dip, or maybe not. And he just loves it because that pacifies his pitta. So pitta, you don't want to overdo the hot spices. And again, caffeine and alcohol, not so great for pitta. So some of the drying foods, we talked about those astringent foods work well for pitta. And pitta can be really hungry. They really want their meals on time. So we want those 3 meals a day, in as much as is possible, in a peaceful atmosphere. Now we're going to move to the third body type, which is kapha, composed of earth and water. So if we think of these 4 people, I apologize for a little bit of a blurry image, but we have Oprah and Arnold and Dr. King and Marlon Brando. And kapha people tend to be a little bit fleshier, a little bit rounder. And very often when particularly women are first introduced to Ayurveda, they'll say, oh my gosh, I hope I'm not the fat type. Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Our society has gotten so crazy on all this stuff. Kapha does not mean obese. Kapha means that you're just a rounder body. And that's fine. And that's good, because kapha people happen to be the healthiest. And the reason being, they're just not moving as fast. And so their energies don't get out of balance as quickly as would vata or pitta. Kapha is the energy of stability. So just think about these people that we know from the media and the world outside, that they are loving. They are generous. Remember how Oprah always used to give away cars and things like that? These are really stunning people. If you are a kapha, or if you have kapha friends, you know that you can be counted on, or they can be counted on. This is the friend that you could call at 3 a.m. and they wouldn't be mad at you. They'd say, what can I do to help? If it weren't COVID times, I would have you over and make you tea. So They do need to exercise. They don't really like to exercise because they kind of appreciate the seated activities of life. And so, even though the body type in general does not mean that a person has to be overweight, they can tend to overweight. So, you want to not collect too much if you're a kapha. And this means both weight on the body and also stuff around you. But other than some kind of mucus conditions like kapha is the body type for childhood. We're all a little bit kapha as children. You think about babies being fat and squishy and wonderful. And then as we outgrow that and become adults, those who are predominantly kapha still tend to be pretty healthy, but may be prone to the mucus related conditions. And also, if they're not careful about food intake and exercise, possibly type 2 diabetes, something like that. But you know what? We are going to be careful about that stuff. So, nothing to worry about. To bring out the best in kapha, as we talked about vata, you don't want to stimulate her too much because she's already pretty stimulated. But kapha is slow moving. So they're going to benefit from stimulation, aerobic exercise, active yoga, dry body brushing, which we didn't talk about earlier, but you can certainly do the dry body brushing before you do the Abhyanga warm oil massage. With the dry body brushing, you start at the feet instead of at the head. This dry body brush sometimes is boar bristles. So we want to be very, very careful always that we're not using any kinds of animal products. But you can also very easily find a dry body brush with vegetable fibers. And so you just scrub yourself and that gets rid of the dead skin. And then if you are able to do the massage after that as well, that oil is going to sink in better because you have gotten rid of some of that dry skin. So kapha is good with spice and even a little caffeine. So when people find out that they're kapha or predominantly kapha, and they don't feel any need to give up that morning coffee, that's usually taken as very good news. So change of scenery is really, really good for kapha. So maybe go visit the Uplands Peak Sanctuary or another wonderful animal sanctuary and get to see these animals up close and personal, at least when COVID is over and we're able to do these things again. So diet-wise, simple for kapha: fruits, vegetables, beans, and grains. And Ayurveda doesn't really like snacking for anybody, except sometimes for vata in the late afternoon, because that dip can just be terrible for a strong vata. I once had an Ayurvedic physician say to me, now in the afternoon, you should have some herbal tea and a slice of apple pie. And I remember thinking, never did I ever think I would live long enough for a doctor to tell me to eat apple pie. But generally speaking, especially for kapha, but really for everybody, don't snack unless you really need to, because you want your digestive apparatus to have time to work. You want it to be able to digest lunch before you bring on supper. Now, just a little way to understand the doshas better is, what if a letter comes from the IRS? It's not your refund. It's not something that's expected. So an imbalanced vata is going to be a little nervous, but they'll deal with it. Out of balance, the vata is going to be riddled with fear and anxiety. This is the worst thing that ever happened. Oh my gosh, it's a tragedy. Pitta, in balance, a little bit perturbed because Pitta doesn't like the implication that he or she may have done something wrong. But out of balance, oh my goodness. Pitta is going to be mad at everybody. They're going to be mad at the IRS. They're going to be mad at H&R Block because that's Pitta out of balance. Kapha in balance, it's nothing. I mean, so what? I'll call him on Monday. But out of balance, it is so much this is nothing that they'll just throw it in a pile somewhere and maybe forget it until it does become serious. So that's just a little illustration of what these body types are like in balance and out of balance. So as our hour is proceeding, I don't want anybody to forget that we are here for these guys. Aren't they gorgeous? the beautiful bovines and other amazing creatures at Uplands Peak Sanctuary in Indiana. And do you know the name of the town where it's located? This is so perfect. Freedom, Indiana. Don't these guys deserve freedom? Of course they do. So, contributions made in this hour up to $300 will be matched by Main Street Vegan. So, please get yourself over to bye2020.org and you will be able to make your contribution there. So, let's spice our lives up a little bit. We know that in the whole food plant-based movement, Dr. Greger's wonderful book, How Not to Die, is a total celebration of spices. Well, Ayurveda has been celebrating spices for thousands of years. So there are specific spices that are great for the different doshas. So we can see here Vata, like saffron. And did you know that saffron actually works as well with symptoms of Alzheimer's as the most commonly prescribed Alzheimer's medication? Pretty interesting, right? Basil, fresh ginger. Ginger is amazing, amazing for digestion. It also works for motion sickness. Black pepper, we know, helps the antioxidants in the turmeric to work better. Fennel and cumin. Pitta, cinnamon, mint, coriander, turmeric, cilantro and cardamom, kapha, clove, turmeric, black pepper, mustard seeds, chili peppers, fenugreek seeds. But you know what? All the spices are fabulous. I used to have my Christmas spices and I would freeze them and get them out in December for vegan eggnog and cookies and stuff like that. Now, I don't have Christmas spices anymore. Those are all year-round spices, and I go through them like crazy. So happy spicing. You can also get churnas. These are spice blends for the particular doshas, and mapi.com, that's Maharishi Ayurvedic Products, is one place to get those. I have no affiliate association with those folks. I'm just telling you that is a place to get your spices. If you are interested in Ayurveda, and if you'd like a little bit more of what we've done today, but stretched out over an entire day as a blissful retreat, I am doing Winter Wellness with Ayurveda on January 16th, so coming up in a couple of weeks. So that 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., that is United States Eastern Time. So if you're Central Time, it's going to be 9 to 4 or whatever. You can figure out your time zone. It's going to be absolutely enchanting and delightful. We're going to do some yoga, the kind that everybody can do. We're going to learn to meditate. If you've always thought, well, maybe I should do that. It's supposed to be good, but I don't really know how. Well, you'll know how by the end of the Winter Wellness with Ayurveda retreat. We're going to have lots of learning, a little bit like we've done today and some more. And then we'll also have some meet and chat sessions. If we turn out to be a tiny group, then we'll just do that all together. And if we're a big group, we'll divide up into rooms so that you can share what's going on with you and what's on your mind, because that's so important. I think especially now when we've all been kind of closed in with the pandemic, sometimes we just need to talk and share. And so that Winter Wellness with Ayurveda retreat, tinyurl.com/winter wellness retreat. So https or www.tinyurl.com winter wellness retreat. And now I'm going to come back onto the big screen. Here we are. Cancel sharing. Hi. So let's see. My screen isn't sharing. I can see it. Okay. You know what? That's odd. So, Annie, give me a message. If the screen didn't share, I've got a few minutes and I can just run through it again. We didn't have your screen share through the second set of slides. Well, you know what? You heard me talk about it, and now I'm going to go back in and add the pictures. So let's see if it works this time. You know what's funny? When I think I'm screen sharing, I can't see those notes from Annie. So let's see. I am going to... La la la. Do you love technology? Sometimes I do. On those occasions when it works, which seems to be not nearly as often as it ought to, I think, oh my goodness, we're so lucky to be living now when we have access to all these incredible things. But then when somebody asks me for a password and I look it up and I know it's right, and they tell me it's wrong, and stuff like that, it's just so annoying. Let's see what happens here. Let's see if I can make that big now. I'm going to say share screen, share screen, share. Here we go, here we go. Application window. There's always another thing to press, isn't there? Okay, so I'm going to keep that small for a minute and let Annie tell me if you guys are seeing that screen. Okay. Well, I can't tell that, so I'm just going to run through really quickly and then get you ready for your next presentation. Okay, we know we're going to contribute at bye2020.org. The doshas, a portrait of who you are. And you can see here that maybe you're a kapha, a pitta, or a vata pure, or maybe you're a combination. So how do you find out which kind you are? Well, you can just go online and say dosha quiz. I have a couple of favorite ones. I like the one that Deepak Chopra has, Chopra Center Dosha Quiz. That one's really good. Another one that's really good is from a company called Banyan Botanicals. I mentioned mapi.com that has a lot of great Ayurveda stuff. Well, so does Banyan Botanicals. Okay, the dosha, the type. You can see Vata here. She's kind of long and lean. Pitta's got the muscles. Kapha's a little bit rounder, but they're all beautiful and they're all perfect. Vata's in the extreme. Audrey and Fred, we're going to make Vata warm and contented and comforted and happy. Pitta, we have the Williams sisters. We've got muscle and strength and courage. And we're going to pacify some of that excessive pitta, which is a really powerful appetite and sometimes a powerful anger, with coolness and cooling foods and a nice routine with 3 good meals a day. Then we have our kaphas. You see Dr. King, you see Marlon Brando. Kapha is such a beautiful, beautiful dosha. They're calm, they're generous, they're loving, and they tend not to get sick, but they can get just a little bit too sedentary. So the kapha needs some stimulation, some change, and some activity. So getting up in the morning and really getting out there for a run or an active yoga class is great for kapha. Minimalistic diet, fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, particularly rice and quinoa. And that was our letter from the IRS. Nobody wants to get it, but you want to be in balance. And if you are a vata imbalance and you get a letter like that, then you're going to deal with it. A little bit of butterflies in the stomach, no big deal. Pitta, a little bit perturbed, but you'll deal with it and you won't bite anybody's head off. Kapha imbalance, okay. You might not take care of it today, but you'll take care of it tomorrow. You know what? In balance, we are all just right. It's kind of like baby bear's porridge. And guess what else is just right? Contributing to these beautiful, beautiful beings and those like them at the Uplands Peak Sanctuary. Seasonally, late fall to early winter, that's what we're in now. That's Vata season. So even if you're not a Vata, think hot soup, thick blanket, funny movie, and hanging out with somebody you love. And right around early March, depending on where you live, we're going to go into Kapha season, where you might feel a little bit sluggish and unmotivated. So you want to stay warm, get plenty of exercise, and be sure you're not eating too much at that time of year. Summer is pitta season. And so you want to cool yourself, and even a vata during the summertime can have some vegan ice cream. You want to spice up your life as much as you possibly can. And the Winter Wellness with Ayurveda retreat is coming up on January 16th, a luxurious day just for you. www.tinyurl.com Winter Wellness Retreat. And I do believe that I am at the end of my time, and another wonderful speaker is going to be coming in just a few minutes. So I wish that there was a way that I could see what you're talking about. I don't seem to have access to the streaming chat. So what I'm basically going to share in my last 2 or 3 minutes, and that'll leave a couple of minutes for Annie to get things set up for the next person, is that feeling great, in my way of thinking, is part of how we take care of everybody else. So if I'm feeling icky, I can't take care of my husband, my dog, my pigeon, or the outside world. And so these lovely little hacks that we do to take care of ourselves, maybe it's the warm oil massage in the morning, maybe it's making sure that I get that nice mug of herbal tea before I go out for my walk and come back for breakfast. They're just tiny things. But when my body works right, then my mind works right. Ayurveda grew up alongside yoga. Ayurveda was supposed to be there for the body and yoga for the soul. And we think now sometimes that yoga is just really all physical. But you know what? Nothing is all physical, because every aspect of life can be imbued with this beautiful spirit of love and caring and generosity. So what we want to do is take superb care of ourselves. We want to treat ourselves like a piece of porcelain. And then we want to get out there and change things in the world. And today we have an opportunity to change things for 50 animals who were rescued from the horrible torture and slaughter system that is animal agriculture. I know that there are millions and millions who have not been saved by Uplands Peak or another sanctuary. This is the world that we live in. But those who have been saved are ambassadors for all the others. Very often, someone will visit a farmed animal sanctuary, maybe just because their girlfriend wanted them to go, and they'll see these animals for the first time. They will see that all those bacon jokes they used to make are really out of line, because that pig is so smart and so aware and such an individual. They'll see that chickens who are killed by the billions, minute by minute by minute, in this country and around the world, are bright. They recognize one another. They recognize their names. It's really an awakening to go to a sanctuary, or go to a sanctuary virtually. There's a wonderful organization called Animal Connection, which does sanctuary visits for school groups. So if you can't get your body to a sanctuary, maybe you can get your eyes to a sanctuary on a screen. And what we all can do today is make a contribution to Uplands Peak. That link, once again, is buy2020.org. I hope to see some of you at the Ayurvedic retreat on January 16th. I hope some of you will text vegan to 55444, and we'll be connected that way. Enjoy the rest of this day and all the amazing presenters who are to come, and your fabulous concert tonight with Honey LeBronx, who, I don't know about you, but she's my favorite vegan drag queen. Bye, everybody. All the best.